Let's preview tonight's Spurs and Nuggets game, then put in focus Kentucky's Rob Dillingham as a Spurs draft prospect.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from the Cybertron Springs.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's Fight San Antonio. Glad to have you all back. TGIF. And hope you all having a great end of the work week and get that weekend right around the corner. Hey, can you believe it? Last two games of the season are here. That's it. One tonight versus Denver, one more against Detroit on Sunday, and that's all she wrote. But as always, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts. Ken's Fight Plus app, YouTube. What else do you got? iTunes, Spotify. Yeah, pick a platform. We are there. What are we talking about today? We're going to quickly preview tonight's Spurs-Nuggets game. Then bring in our guest, Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. We're going to be putting to focus as a Spurs draft prospect, Kentucky's Rob Dillingham, and then talk about you guys, the Locked On Spurs fans, and some comments you guys are leaving out of the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. But first, let's preview tonight's Spurs-Nuggets game. Spurs come into tonight's game 20-60, Denver 56-24. Now, the Spurs are coming off a massive road loss versus the OKC Thunder, 127-89. Spurs were down at 1.40 plus points to the OKC Thunder. Yeah, it was that bad. Zach Collins, he had 20 points and 7 rebounds. Champagny had 5 points in the loss. Trey Jones had 13 points. Malachi Branham had 7. Sidi Sissoko, the rookie, had 14 points. Now, keep in mind, Spurs did not have Vassell, Sohan, Osman, Keldon, Wembayama. So they were very depleted. So what did you expect? And the Spurs will be in their Icon Edition jerseys tonight for those of y'all who are keeping up in Jersey Watch. And good news, though, injury report front is Victor Wembanyama is available. There was a thought that maybe he might be out, but it looks like he's going to give it a go tonight. And Keldon Johnson remains out. And Dominic Barlow is out, and everybody else y'all know who shut down for the season already, that being Vassell and Sohan. All right, so what are we doing? As always, we look at the opponent first, this case, the defending champs, Denver. Denver is coming into tonight's game very hot. They're on a 3-game winning streak, as well as a 3-game winning streak against the Spurs. So they got the Spurs number, and they're on a roll right now. So, yeah, hopefully the Spurs can snap that losing streak to Denver and stop their overall winning streak. Now, watch Denver as they share the ball. Now, they're very good at that, but this is how good they are. Whenever they get 30 or more assists this season, they're 29-4. So have you seen those assists start spreading around for Denver? You know, everybody's hitting their shots. They're moving the ball. That might be a sign of bad things to come for the Spurs. And keep an eye on the scoreboard. You know, the Spurs have struggled defensively at times this entire season, but the Nuggets are 11-0 when they score 130 more points. So if the Denver Nuggets are rolling offensively and it's getting up there, then, yeah, again, another sign it might be a long night for the Spurs. Speaking of the Spurs, look at their side of things. The Spurs have lost 2 games at home. And they got to host the defending champs tonight. Yeah. Hopefully they break that streak as well. Also, thing that they're doing again, this has been plaguing the Spurs all season long. Pop and the players, they all recognize it. They've addressed it. The Spurs have recorded 3 straight games of more turnovers than their opposition. So they're giving up those easy buckets. They're giving up opportunities that they can secure for themselves when they turn it over for the opposition. So watch the turnover battle. If the Spurs are coughing it up, might be a long night for your silver and black. All right, there you have it. A quick Spurs-Denver preview. Coming up next, we've got Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. We're going to be discussing Kentucky's Dillingham as a Spurs draft prospect, and then look at some of you guys. Yeah, what are y'all talking about at the Locked On Spurs YouTube page? Hey, I want to talk to you about Stitch Fix. You know that instant confidence boost you get from an outfit that makes you look really good? That's what you'll get with Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, your size, your budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. Look, easily upgrade that wardrobe with this year's professional stylist that helps you find a new on-trend favorite look that'll work for you. Just give the stylist your size, your style, your budget preference. Then you get the boxes when you want, how you want, no subscription required. and then they just send you those just for you pieces. And they even got outfit recommendations, pro styling advice. They keep everything working for you. And guess what? You can send the rest back. Your stylist will always send just the right pieces that fits on point. And they have like style ESP. I don't know how they do it, but they just do it and they'll get you. Stitch Fix makes things all easy. If you don't like shopping, you want to save time, you want to save effort, that's where Stitch Fix comes in. You get outfits that make you look really good and make you feel good as well. And if you don't love something, you just send it back. Shipping, returns, and exchanges are always for free. Style that makes you look good and makes you feel good. Get started today at stitchfix.com/lockedon. That's stitchfix.com/lockedon. Stitchfix.com/lockedon. And I want to talk about eBay Motors, passion, drive, and patience. That's the winning formula for a championship, and it also keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, they got that. Roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whatever you're into, whether it's speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Plus, with eBay Motors, you're going to be burning rubber. You're not going to be burning cash. With all the parts you need and the prices you want, it's easy to take your car and make it the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Once again, ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. And we're now joined by Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. Follow him on X at Sweep the League. He is the big chief there at Sweep. Is that true? The talk with you?
Yeah, the tribal chief, that was the popular I guess hashtag over the weekend for WrestleMania.
I guess so, yeah. And just admit it. Admit it. You didn't want to get in the ring because you didn't want to make Cody look bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a past in wrestling, and I've conquered the wrestling world, so I don't want to do it anymore, man. I'm retired.
All right. Hey, Rudy, by the way, you're gonna be surprised right now. We're actually not gonna be talking about a Dookie. Are you shocked?
I'm very shocked, but I think a Duke's person's name or the school will come up. Actually, you just mentioned Duke, so I mean it did come up on another episode.
I shot myself with the foot. All right. Again, make sure to follow Rudy on X at Sweep the League. So why is he here? Well, with the Spurs season winding down, that's it. Just a couple more games left, and it's all over. Starting to start shifting into off-season mode, and that is draft lottery, prospects, all the good stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, recently, Kentucky's Dillingham declared for the NBA draft. Now, he made that publicly on ESPN, and during that ESPN announcement, the topic of Wemby came up and, playing alongside of him. And he said, yeah, that'd be amazing, that Wemby can do it all, playing with Coach Pop, the usual canned answers we get from these kids. But what made it intriguing is that he is a point guard. The Spurs need point guard help. He provides something the Spurs need, a dynamic point guard. No offense, Trey Jones. But let's talk about the pros and cons here. Now, the Spurs could possibly have multiple first-round picks, depending on how Toronto wraps up their season. But I looked at the recent CBS mock draft board. They have him going as high as number 4. Mm-hmm. So they project him as a top 5 pick. Rudy, the Spurs do need help at the point guard spot. Pro, cons, why shouldn't the Spurs go after Dillingham?
So Rob Dillingham, he's a point guard out of Kentucky. I think he was averaging around 15 points a game, shooting about 44% from 3-point range. He's a scorer. What it comes down to, a lot of his strengths are going to be ball handling. He can create off the dribble. He can create his own shot, get his own shot. His versatility on shot making, it's well above average. I mean, he can get off any shot he wants. He can, like I said, the creativity that he's got as a point guard it's going to be tremendous in the NBA. The playmaking ability that he has, he's going to actually help a lot of his teammates. If it does play with Wemby, he's going to make it easy for Wemby too. He can get to the basket. He can create, He can create some double teams on himself to get somebody open. Just a dynamic person when it comes to Dillingham. The problems that we have with Rob Dillingham that I saw at Kentucky, defensively, he needs to get a little bit stronger. He's got to get a little bit heavier on the weight part. But defensively, he's not a very great defender, so that's going to be something he's got to work on. But when it comes to shot making, as good of a shot maker that he is, Jeff, and as good of a scorer he is, he can sometimes get in trouble by taking bad shots. And you see that a lot with younger guys, especially young scorers. They tend to take a lot of bad shots, a lot of force, a lot of stuff. So a lot of pros and cons of Dillingham. It'd be interesting to see what they do in the draft.
Yeah, well, I'm looking up some of the evaluations right now about him, like the analysis of him, and you hit it on the head. He is not that great of a defender, and he's kind of on the small side, 6'3". Now, his defense needs improvement, but you got a lot of Spurs fans, with pitchforks and shaking the trees that the Spurs should go chase Trae Young. Trae Young's not a known defender. So there's that. But, he is a veteran of the league. But the point is that if the Spurs lack that point guard that is a dynamic shot creator, Dillingham can do that, and he's a scorer. Now, that is exactly what you need right now to pair with Wemby, somebody who can create their own shot, just create a lot of havoc on the perimeter, thus opening up a Wemby. You kind of see that with Devontae Graham a bit this season. He's able to create his own shot, and he tends to work well with Wemby. Yeah, you're right. 15.5 points per game with Kentucky, 4.2 assists, 43% from the three line. Rudy, that's what I like about him, is that he can knock down that three shot.
Yeah, he can definitely shoot the ball. I mean, I think if you want to get a good comparison for a player, for Rob Dillingham, who's currently in the league, looking more like Kobe White for the Bulls. Also, good comparison, maybe Darius Garland is another good one. You can compare Rob Dillingham again. Not somebody that's a real sexy pick out there. Preferably, if I'm looking between Dillingham or some other point guard, I really am firmly believing in Nikola Topic. Out of I can't. It's Zveta. He plays for Zvezda.
Is he the Euro guy?
Yeah, Serbian kid, 18 years old. I like his frame, Topic. He's 6'6", 198 pounds, man. Definitely one that I'm going to keep an eye on. The Spurs needed to probably get a point guard in this draft. There's a few of them out there. You can't forget Isaiah Collier is another one out there that just recently declared. But Dillingham would be an interesting pick depending where they can get him at.
Yeah, either way, whether it's Dillingham, Topic, both don't play defense. I mean, that's the biggest knock. One of the bigger knocks on Topic is that his defense is lacking, just like Dillingham. But at the same time, there are point guards that can defend. What's that kid that showed out right now for the men's championship game? That was a really good lockdown guy. I forgot his name, but the point is there are point guards out there in the draft that can be defenders, but they lack the offensive ability. So it leads me to this question, Rudy, whether it's Topic or Dillingham or Collier, whoever they get, let's just say they go target point guard, okay? Do you think this Spurs team will trust a teenage 19-year-old kid just out of college to pair with a Wemby? Is that too much for a kid, or you think they'll default to Trae Jones still probably starting?
I think Trae Jones is probably still going to be the starter to start the season, but I mean, let's not be beat around the bush here. This isn't Tony Parker coming out in the draft where you're getting him in 29th in the NBA draft. So if you're going to pick out of one of those three guys, I think Topic could be a day one starter. He's playing a lot of pro ball already overseas, which is similar to what Tony did. But none of these guys, I think, are going to come in and take the reins right away. It's just not the Spurs way. Even when Tony was drafted by the Spurs, he still had to sit behind Antonio Daniels for a little bit. So definitely you're going to see these guys, if they get drafted by the Spurs, start to get more playing time. But I don't think you've got a day one starter in this draft coming up here.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Would you be surprised, though, if the Spurs were to send Dillingham, let's just say they go with him because he's the topic right now, to the Austin Spurs? Would that be a shock?
I think it would be. I really don't expect any. If it's a position of need, which I know point guard is a position of need, depending on what they do in the offseason, whether they trade for, DeJounte back or they get Trae Young, I don't expect one of these kids to be in the Austin G League. The only time I expect it is if they've got, 5 days off and Austin has, a couple of games are in there, you may see him get a little bit of play, but I fully expect him to just get all the run in the summer and be on the Spurs roster.
Yeah, I'm with you too. If the Spurs go point guard, well, let me ask you this. Let's just say the Spurs lottery odds, and the balls come up, and the Spurs land at 5 or 4, whatever it is. I think the more they win, obviously they're hurting their chances. But the point, for argument's sake, would you be mad if Dillingham's name is called and he's wearing the Spurs draft day cap? Would you be like flipping tables and what? Or you'd be like, oh, I guess it is a weak draft.
For me, Jeff, whether they're drafting 1 or 11, I still think you're going to get the same type of player anywhere you can. So in this draft, you're pretty much drafting best player available because it is considered a weak draft, but you're getting best player available. And if you feel Dillingham is the best player available for your team, you grab him. If you feel like you can trade down a couple of picks, get a couple of more draft picks, maybe in the second round or maybe a late first round from another team, you can maybe go get, like I said, Isaiah Collier from USC. So I think you draft best available. And again, I wouldn't be very upset if the Spurs get Dillingham at 5 or 6 or wherever they land, because again, the expectations for me coming into this draft are pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much out there. I mean, Rudy, I've heard some say this is probably going to be one of the worst drafts. Is it looking that bad?
Yeah, talking to a couple of former NBA guys, they all say the same thing. I mean, you're talking this draft is pretty bad, man. I mean, you could probably worse than Elton Brand draft, where that was what I think Steve Francis and a lot of those guys, which they were good, but that draft is one of the weaker ones. You've got a lot of other drafts out there, so this is more of a draft where I don't think you're going to see any superstars come out of. You're going to see a lot of guys that are going to be really good NBA veterans and contribute to teams, but just keep your expectations very low.
Yeah. And that I think that's something that I should tell Spurs fans, and you just did right now, is keep expectations low. Keep them low. Because you're not going to get that home run hit like you got with a Wemby. And there's not going to be a Wemby or a Zion or a LeBron or a John Morant in this draft. And, it was against Spurs fans are spoiled. The Spurs get in the lottery, they win it. Yay, spoiled there. They get Wemby in the Wemby draft, spoiled there. Now they're going to go into getting a high pick. They're going to get a high pick.
Yeah.
And then they're going, we're going to get another banger, player out of it. And they're not. So that's the thing. You follow a college game better than I do. Are you going out on the limb, or is anybody going on the limb saying that Dillingham is a sleeper pick though?
No, there's truly no sleeper picks in this draft. I mean, one guy that I'm pretty big on, but he plays, I think, the 2 and 3. I really like Jacoby Walter out of Baylor. Again, 19-year-old freshman. I just think he's a 3-and-D type guy. He fits the rebuild a little bit better for San Antonio. And then, like I said, you can go get a point guard somewhere later in the draft. But a lot of it, we'll be honest, Jeff, a lot of this draft determines what their thought process is going into free agency and then going into, as far as making trades, because like everybody knows, the Spurs have a lot of assets. They've got a lot of draft capital. They got a lot of cap room. They can take on a bad contract if a team is if they're wanting to trade for a superstar type player, all-star caliber player. Sometimes the team's also going to want to dump another contract just to kind of free up some space. Spurs have the ability to do that and still go get another, very quality veteran. So that's kind of what I'm feeling. Before they head into this draft, they're going to kind of see where they stand on a lot of these free agents and possible trade partners coming up.
Yeah, I know. Look, at least on paper, Dillingham does fit what the Spurs need. A dynamic shot creator, point guard position there to pair with Wemby. On paper, it works well, but then there's the lack of experience, the lack of veteranship, because you go that route with Rob Dillingham, which is, again, we're just using him as an example, then the Spurs get younger. And do you really want to have another excuse? Well, we have a young kid. He's getting to know. Look, we took time to get to know how to play Wemby. Now, here's a kid that's going to have to take time to get used to playing Wemby. And these are guys like Devin Vassell, Keldon, and Sohan. They had issues meshing with him. So imagine a 19-year-old out of college, playing with Wemby already. So, it's kind of double-edged sword here.
Is it safe to say that, and this is going to a lot of Spurs fans, I mean, you saw Wemby's progression this year.
Yeah,
If the Spurs are on pace to win 25, 26 games next year,
yeah,
you brought it up and you hit the nail right on the head. Are they going to go to a Dillingham or a Collier or
yeah,
whoever's drafted and say
yeah,
this was a waste of a pick because he's not helping right away? And
yeah.
to me, that's not fair. I mean, you can put the blame on Vassell and Keldon and even Jeremy because they've been here a lot longer. But how quickly are they going to start turning on some of these draft picks?
Yeah, exactly. So keep an eye on that. But we'd like to hear what you think, everybody. Would you be okay with the Spurs drafting Dillingham? Does fit a need? You can let Rudy know on X at Sweep the League. Let me know on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. Coming up next, speaking of the Locked On Spurs YouTube page, you guys are leaving comments. We're going to be picking two and reacting to them. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, I want to talk about FanDuel. You want to go to FanDuel right now. It's playoff time in the NBA, NHL. Baseball is underway. FanDuel is your place to go and bet on every single game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Yes, you heard that right. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on this app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? You want to go to FanDuel.com/lockedon right now. Make your first bet an automatic win. Look, the NBA playoffs are right around the corner. Just because the Spurs season is going to be over soon and, the Spurs are not going to be in the hunt doesn't mean that you can still have fun with playing in playoffs. The NBA playoffs are sure to be a hit, exciting, take part in it, and have more fun with it with FanDuel. Again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make that first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Also want to talk to you about Muslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee. Go there right now. San Antonio, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. That's in the 281 and 1604 area. They got it all. They have, they got lattes. So you need that. They got you covered. You need cold brews. They got that too. You need just basic coffee, like their signature drink called the Mudslinger. They got that too. What about dairy alternatives? They got that as well. They have it all. Mini donuts, they even have that as well. They got it all. You want to go there right now. They're open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And they even have something called the Lightning Bolt series. Now, just a quick heads up, they're changing the recipe for the Lightning Bolts. They started using Lotus Energy instead of Red Bull. Lotus has similar caffeine to Red Bull, but with 7 power plant extracts. It gives them more flexibility to create new drinks. They'll still have Red Bull available. If you want that, good to go. But the default will go to Lotus. And yeah, their Lightning Bolt series is great. They even got the Alien, which is in honor of Victor Wembanyama. That is made with Lotus Energy as well. Combining natural caffeine and a powerful blend of 7 plant extracts, the new and improved Lightning Bolts will keep you powered up all day. And that's exactly what Mudslingers will do. They're a proud local sponsor of Locked On Spurs. They're a proud community member of San Antonio. They love serving San Antonio the best coffee in the city. Go there right now. Follow them on social media at Mudslinger SATX. Again, those mini donuts, they sold out recently. That's how good they are. 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive, open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Go there right now, San Antonio, because life is too short for bland coffee. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. Follow him on X at Sweep the League. And we're going to be catching up on what he is up to later on in this show. But speaking of the show, it's your turn. You guys are leaving comments at the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. We're going to read them. We're going to pick out 2. Surprise, surprise, Rudy. It's about DPOY and Wemby. Shocker here, but let's go and dive into it. The first one is from Adrian Signs. He says, take out Wemby and put Gobert with the Spurs. Do the Spurs become better defensively? If the answer is no, then Gobert is not your DPOY. Simple as that. That's an interesting argument. Thank you, Adrian, for that comment. People are looking for so many ways, so many angles to show, hey, voters, Wemby is a DPOY. This is a good example of that right now. Mm-hmm. God, I mean, it's just person to just suck it up and realize it ain't going to happen. He ain't going to get it.
Man, he puts up a lot of blocks and he does a lot on the defensive side of the ball for the Spurs. Personally, the fan of me, and even from what I see, I do have Wemby probably being up there for Defensive Player of the Year. but a lot of other factors come into play. I mean, they talk about how good is a team defensively when this player's on the floor. I mean, there's so many stats that go into it. You almost have to be like a mathematician to try to figure all this out.
What you are, Rudy.
Wait, I try not to be a lot of times, but do I think he wins it? I think he deserves it. I don't think he wins it, though, to be honest with you. I think it's probably going to end up going maybe to Gobert. And a lot of it is record. I mean, that's the problem. A lot of it is record. So unless Wemby is, hands down like the rookie of the year where he just totally dominated everybody else, that's a no-brainer. On the defensive player of the year side, it's very questionable. Personally, I think he deserves it. But when so many other stats are involved, it's kind of hard to just say outright he's defensive player of the year.
No, if I had a vote, Wemby gets my vote for DPOY. It's simple as that. The biggest tell for me is the on-off defensive stats. When he's on, Spurs are one of the best teams defensively. When he's off, they're the worst team. And they just plummet. Yeah. That alone just tells me he is the defensive player of the year because his defensive abilities as a player stats show it, voters. But yeah, Adrian, I'm with you there. Wemby is the DPOY, and I think years to come when Rudy's grandkids ask him, "Hey, granddad, am I reading this right on Basketball Reference that Wemby did not get the DPOY in his rookie season?" And you and Rocky Shell gonna be, "Yes, let me tell you about the time this happened here." So
it wouldn't be the first time. I mean, we've seen a lot of players in the past for Spurs history get passed up. I mean, hell, George Gervin didn't win MVP, and he had the best stats in the entire league.
Tim Duncan never got DPOY, and he had some of the best defensive stats during his run.
Yeah, so we kind of should be used to heartbreak in a way.
Yeah, right. Our next comment comes from RK Fan 1012. Now he's reacting to a Locked On Spurs this past week with an EP Sports Radio, Raul Flores. We were evaluating some of the fringe players that could or could not stick on the roster. And for the most part, Raul and I were like, man, this person has a case to stick. This person has a case to stick. So our conversation wrapped up the point of saying, oh my God, could this team just run it back? So this is where RK Fan 1012 comes in. He says, if they run the same team back, then that's a failure. It's not going to be for big, huge moves in signing or trading for an all-star, but we need to upgrade a lot of role player positions. No more 50-plus losing seasons. Need to try to, okay, hang on, let me get it together. Okay, need to try to compete for a playing spot next year. That should be the goal team-wise. The way they're playing to end the season, it wouldn't shock me if the Spurs say, let's run it back. You see, it came together at the end of the season. You see it works. But do you think the Spurs should have on the table running it back, or that should not be on the table and this team needs to do a major overhaul?
I think we've done a few Locked On Spurs where we've had this same type of question presented, and I'm going to stick by it. I would not be surprised if they run it back. I would be more surprised if they actually went out and spent the money and grabbed all these free agents and made big-time trades. I mean, it's just not in the Spurs' nature to go out and make these huge moves. I mean, we don't see it very often. The last time we saw it was with Kawhi Leonard and DeMar DeRozan, but let's be real, Kawhi forced his way out of San Antonio. So it's a deal that had to be made. Had it not been forced, I mean, Kawhi still would have been a Spur. And, who knows? You probably would have never drafted Wemby because, I mean, the Spurs wouldn't have been that bad of a team. But it's something that I go back and forth on, and I'm just going to say that it wouldn't surprise me at all if they run it back. I mean, it would. I think you're going to see a move being made. I think they're going to sign a free agent. I just don't know if it's a Klay Thompson or a Taurean Prince. I don't know who it's going to be. It could be.
Well, Drew Holiday's off the table. He resigned with Milwaukee, so there goes my dream.
Drew Holiday's off the table. I mean, there's a lot of speculation, but for our fans out there, just be prepared to see majority of this team back next year. Maybe one guy might be traded or gone, but just expect the same team to come back next year because that's kind of what I'm expecting. And again, I don't see very many wins with the same team, but who knows, man?
Yeah, And then you look at Mamu, his connection with Wemby, how dynamic they work well together. And I see the Spurs saying, yeah, let's bring back Mamu instead of using him maybe as a trade bait in the offseason. Devontae Graham, 20 points. Look at his instant offense. Bring him back, or just let's keep him and extend him. He had one more year in his contract. Stuff like that runs through my mind. Like, yeah, I would have put it past the Spurs to do that. But I think they'll be working the phones. I know if Rudy was GM, he'd be taking calls on Wemby. Seriously, Rudy's openly admitted that he would do that.
Yeah, I've never shied away the fact that with me as being GM, I would take calls on anybody, including Tim Duncan, because you have to take the call.
He's Rudy Campos, everybody. You can let him know your feelings.
Yeah,
the league.
If you're not taking a call on everybody and anybody, you're not doing your job. That's just the way it is.
I'm going to save you right now and get out of this. Thank you for that comment there. RK Fan 1012. Keep them coming. We're going to read them as much as we can, especially in the off season. You guys are going to be helping us carry this show throughout the long off season. We're done talking, but we're not done trying to figure out what Rudy's up to. Rudy, what's going on with Sweep, buddy?
Yeah, Sweep the League. We were a part of the Alamo City podcast network, but we've kind of dialed it back a whole lot. We're kind of not rebranding, but we're redoing the show. So we're taking a little house, working with Joe out there to kind of get things worked out. I kind of have a little bit more on my plate, so I had to pull back a little bit. But outside of that, I mean, you can also catch me Sports Insanity Network from time to time, doing a lot of NFL and NBA draft stuff. So just be on the lookout for that. But other than that, I mean, hit me up on Twitter at Sweep the League. Talk to me there. Hit me up, DM me, whatever. I love talking sports and stuff.
There you go. Let them know at Sweep the League. Hey, we'll be back next week for the first off-season Locked On Spurs. Yeah, Rudy, by the way, you're wrapping up the regular season of Locked On Spurs with me. This is the last regular season Locked On Spurs, but we're not going to be done. We'll still keep on going next week as we go into the offseason. So Rudy's not going anywhere. Everybody else is not going anywhere. Yeah. Rudy will likely be back as the offseason begins on Monday. Well, actually, no, on Sunday afternoon, the Spurs offseason begins. So we'll be back Monday.
So can I end, when you're ready to end the show, can I end it with something and just say that I hate to be the mean guy of the group and say, I told you so, but I told you Spurs fans that this season was not a good one. Go back.
Go ahead. Get it off your chest. Go back
to when the season started.
I'm gonna shut up right now. Go ahead, Rudy. Take it away.
Go back to when the season started and listen to Locked On. I had 22 wins at the most for the Spurs, man. And how close did we come? Pretty damn accurate on that. Me and Vegas both had them at 22. And yeah, needless to say, I'm gonna do the Barry Horowitz shout out WWF from back in the day, pat on the back there.
You finished?
I'm completely done.
All right. He is Rudy Campos at Sweep the League on X. And we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. As mentioned, we'll be back on Monday, even though the Spurs season is over, discussing all things silver and black. Locked On Sports Today, 24/7 sports show on YouTube. Go subscribe to that right now. Locked On Sports Today. And so keep it coming. Keep those comments coming. So for Rudy Campos, the bragger, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock in this episode of Locked On Spurs.